Hello and welcome to Everyday Petrolhead. I'm your host, Terrence Anderson, and welcome to my channel. So what are we going to talk about today? How about 5 misconceptions about car guys and car girls? This ought to get interesting. Now, I know in the car world, a lot of us do a lot of crazy things, whether it's, ricing out, a Japanese or Chinese import car, or doing something crazy to something German or European, or just flat out making a muscle car even more of a muscle car, because if that's even possible, people find a way to do it. That being said, that's not the entirety of the car culture. A lot of people have vague misconceptions about, various owners. I know Mustangs get a bad rap. I actually love the Mustang. I mean, the Coyote motor is a monster motor. It's a great platform to build on. That being said, it's a lot of power inside of a little car, and a lot of people don't have any handling or understanding of it. The reality is, once you creep over 350 horsepower, I would say even 400 horsepower, there's a huge difference between 350 horsepower and 400 horsepower, and a massive difference between 400 horsepower and 500 horsepower, because if you know your physics, power is exponential. The faster you go, or rephrase that, the more power you have, the more torque you have, and things get complicated if you don't understand that fully before you get into it. That's primarily the problem with vehicles like the Mustang and the Charger and the Challenger and the Hellcat and the Demon, 700 some odd horsepower. It gets out of hand if you've never had any proper experience with that kind of power. So let's get into the list. Number 1, we are all mechanics. We are not all mechanics. Most of us are everyday ladies and guys who just love the vehicle that we work on, and we've always wanted this thing, whether it's a Porsche or, hey, even a Civic SR. Like, as simple as that is, and as inexpensive as something like that is, it could be something like that. But you go into it and you dive into it and you learn everything you can about it, and you start working on it, mainly because you want to be the one to say, I did it, not so much because you don't want to have a mechanic do it. One of my former publishers, he bought a Mustang, classic Mustang, and he admitted up front, I bought it built. It was bought fully done, and there's nothing wrong with that. Again, not a mechanic. And you go on the other end of the spectrum, I bought this E53 X5 because I love BMWs and I wanted to have one. I also wanted to have one that was practical for our family. We had two kids at the time, now 3 coming up. And as much as I would like to get a sedan or a sports car, not realistic when we really need 2 vehicles, 2 SUVs for the family. A family of 4, or now family of 5, not realistic to have inside of a sedan unless you get a really large sedan. And let's be honest, nobody wants an old 7 Series, because that's a conversation for another day. Number 2, we can fix your car. We fix your car. No. That is not the case. A gearhead or a petrol head or a car guy or girl, we don't want to fix your car. Just because we love cars and we love working on cars doesn't necessarily mean we want to fix everybody's cars. I can tell you probably what's wrong with your car in a pinch, but in all honesty, you should always go to a reputable mechanic. Just because your friend is really good with vehicles doesn't mean he has or she has all the answers. So yeah, for simple stuff, probably good to listen to your friend. Things that start getting more complicated, it might be wise, to go to a mechanic. Oh, I hear this whine under the engine, in the engine bay. What is that noise? You know what? I think your power steering fluid is a little low, because I think we all know what that sounds like. But you hear something else that's a lot more complicated, or the engine is making some kind of knocking noise, that could be like 50 different things. And for our car, that engine knock might be, well, the BMW, it might be the Valvetronic or the Vanos system having issues. It could be any other number of things. Not enough oil coming up to the cams. It's just too many things to list. So for those things, go to a real mechanic, a fully certified mechanic that you trust. Or even ask the person who is a car guy or girl, who do they recommend, and then you go check them out. And even after you do that, it's okay to go get a second estimate on the vehicle. A friend of mine went to a company that we trust to get an estimate on a situation with their exhaust, and the quote was a little high. They went ahead and checked another mechanic, got a better price, and found that some of the things the other guys were quoting to do may not necessarily need to be done. Not saying that they were trying to take their money. I think they were just being preventative. Take care of all of these things one time, car is good to go. But in reality, some of the things they were trying to replace didn't necessarily need to be replaced. That doesn't mean you shouldn't replace those things, because if a car has over 100,000 miles on it, you never know when that might be the next thing to go. Number 3, we only care about our cars. That's not true either. We love all cars. Well, except for Prius. Nobody likes Prius. Only Prius people like Prius. We only care about our own cars. Not even close to being true. The reality is we love cars. Arguably, we like cars with high horsepower. That could be anything from, a Honda S2000 with a 4-banger that is screaming at 8,500, 8,900, almost 9,000 RPMs, and puts out an insane amount of power for its size, or all the way up to, a V10 M5 that I will never buy because that motor is way too unpredictable, or even a Ferrari, which, you never know. All of these things we love. I love the Ferrari F12 Berlinetta. I love that car. I think it's a beautiful car, beautifully designed. The TDF edition is insane. I love the Bugatti Veyron. I'm not a big fan of the Chiron. I think the Chiron is kind of unattractive, and that's kind of weird because it in the front it looks better than the Veyron. In the back, I'm not a fan of it. So it's all particulars. At the same time, I make fun of Toyota Camrys, all the time. They're beige. That's the car guy's equivalent of it's boring, it's beige. Look at that beige car. But, you can't knock its reliability. The car is they're indestructible. You have to be a veritable jackass to blow up a Toyota Camry. You just have to be. Oil, fluids, maintenance, done. 200,000 miles later, the car is still on the road. So I can't really argue with anything anybody has to say about, Toyota Camrys. Bugs flying around here. I can't really argue with anything anybody has to say about Toyota Camrys, but the reality is they are really rock solid cars. And I have a lot of respect for them. The V6 ones are awesome. I mean, wow. Amazing power for what it is. I mean, yes, it's a family car. It's not supposed to be fast, but they're pretty peppy for what they are. And, the hybrids are really nice. That's what the Prius should have been. The Prius should have been just a variant of Toyota Camry. But that's another argument for another day. We ain't gonna get into that right now. Let's move on. Number 4, we are all tire-ripping crazy people. No, that is not true. Yes, we all love the occasional burnout. We all love seeing some smoke in the air, but eventually you realize those tires are kind of expensive, Tires on my car, range anywhere from $107 per wheel to $300 per wheel. It all depends on what I'm looking to do. And I've actually tried to break loose the rear end of this vehicle. I've put it in just rear wheel drive sport mode and nailed it. No tires are shredding in this car. This car doesn't want to do that, no matter what I want to do. But at the same time, not everybody really wants to do that. Beyond the fact of dealing with the cost of replacing tires, it's just not practical to do that all the time. And most guys who do it, who truly do it, are drifters or drift racers. They've got like 20, 30 tires in their garage. Like, look online and look up Adam LZ, Evan Shanks, TJ Hunt. Those guys have tires for days. They're ready. Their business has been booming for a while. They have the money to spend on tires. Most people aren't really trying to shred their tires all the time, unless you have the money to blow on that. The reality is most people who are car people just admire the vehicles. They drive them. Sometimes they pick it up and zip it. I drove my friend's F-Type, and I loved zipping back and forth with that thing, but I never took it over 70 miles an hour, because there wasn't really a reason to. I mean, the car gave you the kick you needed between 0 and 60, and 70 was a bonus. And let's be honest, I wasn't exactly on a racetrack. It would be different if I was on a racetrack. I need to go to a racetrack. Honey, I'm going to a racetrack. Don't fight me on this. And number 5, we only appreciate our cars. And that's not true. As you heard earlier, I stated several vehicles that I loved. Hell, and it's not even just cars that I love. Man, listen, I loved the old Lincoln Aviator. I owned one of those things, and I regret getting rid of it. It was an amazing vehicle. It had minor issues, and I don't even remember why we got rid of it. I just think it was stupid, and I regret it. So I would buy one of those again, even though they're old, and I can't find one with less than 70,000 miles on it. It was a pretty solid car. It had the 4.6 liter V6 derived from the Mustang of its day, the one that said 5.0, but it was 4.6. Very solid motor, and a lot of nice power out of it. There are mods for that car, so it's something I would consider getting again. But having 3 SUVs is we'll get 2 SUVs and we'll go from there. The new Lincoln Aviator is bonkers. Like, that thing is awesome looking. I would love to have one of those. That's on my list. Or even the Ford Edge Sport, Ford Explorer Sport, the Chevy Trailblazer SS. Awesome car. I can go down a list of Japanese cars I'd love to own, drive, or experience at some point. European cars, I love Jags. I don't think I'll ever own a Jag, because getting Jag parts means going to Jaguar. And going to the dealer is not what you want to do to get parts. So I think that's the reality of the situation. We don't just love our cars. When I go to Cars and Coffee or Sunset GT, you don't see guys going, I got a Lambo, check out my Lambo. My Lambo's hot, and my Lambo's the only Lambo on the street. You don't really see too much of that. You see guys admiring all sorts of different cars. If you see somebody doing that, that's a fanboy. Tesla owners, God, you guys come to the car meets, don't act like fanboys. It's annoying. Yes, we all get it. It's electric. We all like it. I plan to eventually buy one of my own. Once I get this gasoline fix out of my system, I will probably buy a Tesla. Most likely a Model S, because I'm not feeling the X, and the 3, it's not that sexy. So I think it'll probably be a Model S for me when I'm ready. Rhyming accidentally. The reality is, don't come to a car meet and be all, ooh, my car is electric and you guys are burning gas, killing dinosaurs and plants. Listen, let's not discuss how your batteries were made and how all of that got put together and how much toxic fumes were released into the environment making your batteries. Shut up, sit down. Fanboys, don't do that. And this is not an attack on Tesla people, because I have a lot of friends who are Tesla owners, and they're awesome. There's so many awesome ones. There's a guy who comes to Cars and Coffee every other month with his red Tesla that's been customized. It looks a little bit like Rich Rebel's version of Dolores, which is black with the red headlight sockets. His is red with the red headlight sockets with all red trim, black interior. It's gorgeous, and he is such a chill dude. He gave me so much information about his car, and he and I walked around Cars and Coffee. We checked out some classic BMWs, some classic Mercedes, some old Mustangs. He told me specs that I didn't even know about some of these classic cars. So don't be a fanboy, and don't assume that we only love our cars. So there you have it. 5 things that you now know about car people, car guys, car girls, that are misconceptions. If you like this video and you want to see more videos like this, like, share, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments, and thanks for joining me on Everyday Petrolhead. Thanks.